So the myth of awakening is that when I'm good enough, when I'm perfect enough, when I've released enough, when I've achieved enough, there'll be some momentous situation, some momentous experience that I can identify as awakening. And then the self can celebrate that it has awakened. And not only does the ego identity, the me self, perpetuate that myth, so that it keeps the very mechanism that creates the sense of being a separate entity, if you like, creates the ego, keeps the ego process in motion. Not only does that myth perpetuate that mechanism, but it's also fed, if you like, by the stories that we hear, traditional spiritual teachings or various stories from the previous ages, of those who have exploded into enlightenment and achieved some perfect state. It's come through into us in the contemporary world, whether it's through religious teachings or other traditions, that it's some one-time happening somewhere up ahead. And so that perpetuates that myth. And it is a myth, because it is in some ways a momentary revelation, because it can only be revealed in the moment. But the moment is always here, now, not up ahead. Awakening is the revelation of that which is already here, always has been. The bars of the prison called the me self are revealed to be a dream, an illusion. They don't actually exist, except in the conceptual mind. So in that sense, it's a very ordinary revelation, and yet in some ways extraordinary in the transformation of consciousness, not to a super elevated state, but to a natural state. And the myth that gets perpetuated, that awakening is up ahead as some destination, some moment where I'll know I've awakened. The other myth that comes along with it is that somehow the self will become more perfect. And that perfection may look in various, have different aspects to it. One of the aspects is that I'll never feel pain again. I'll never have any more problems. I'll never experience any emotions or energies. everything in my life will go along perfectly and smoothly and easily. Somehow I'll become a more perfect person, whatever that means to you. The personhood will be perfected. I'll no longer, I don't know, whatever. I'll be able to speak great truths and not be self-conscious and whatever it might be. Have healing powers. And I know it sounds facile on some level, but if one looks within, there is often some remnant of that kind of idea, sometimes not examined, perhaps not as simplistic as that. But it is a huge myth that is a veil that stands in the way of the very simple recognition of that which is already here. Open awareness, the fact of I. I does not exist independently of awareness. It cannot. Otherwise there'd be no possibility to be aware of I. As all things, sensations and breath and thought and feeling, without the very fact of awareness, not as an external entity, but as the very essence, it's inside everything, there would be no sensation. If there's no awareness, there's no sensation, or thought, or feeling, or breath. It's so immediate, it's so direct, that it is overlooked. And the question of, is it gradual or is it sudden? Yeah, the myth is that it's sudden. Therefore, waiting, postponing for a future moment, a future time. That whole question collapses in the revelation itself. Because what appears to be sudden is in the moment. But this moment is seemingly experienced, if you like, gradually, because we have the experience of time. So in this moment, in the immediacy of now, the invitation is to be fully, deeply present in this, in whatever arises, in the sensation, in the energy field, in the emotion. Just as we invited in yesterday's session, when something is coming up, whether it's a vibration in the body or, to remain not in a fixed position, but in an open, way inside that experience, that sensation, that vibration, and not to wrap around it a narrative, a story, a justification as to why you're experiencing this. Yeah? As if that will make sense of it and then somehow assist the letting go of it. But that never happens. So don't justify to yourself why you're having this experience, this energy, this vibration, this sensation, because that perpetuates the past. And then the hope of the future. Remain here, fully present in this without any narrative at all. And in that way, that which is already here underneath it, within it, the open space of the awareness of I, starts to come more into the foreground.